I'm Martin Jarvis, and once again I want to welcome you to another perspective. It's a new year, 2026, and we want it to be a great year. But often when I raised my kids sort of tongue-in-cheek by giving them this little one-liner. Well, whatever we're talking about, whether it's the condition that I'm in as their dad before them, trying to eat healthy and do well, and it reflects in my body image, I always look at him and say, it doesn't just happen. And that's like the family joke, but there is some reality in that. It doesn't just happen. So we can go into the new year with all these wishes and desires and high hopes, like that little ant in the rubber tree plant and all. But if we don't make decisions and make choices that are different than the decisions and choices we made in the previous year, we're just going to repeat and have more of the same. But we don't want that. So we're going to cover a couple of topics today that I believe if we remain focused or get focused and then remain focused, our lives will drastically improve. Okay? And just so you know, this is how I live. I've always been critical upon myself, not critical in a harsh way, but always looking at myself and fine-tuning myself. And whatever ways that I might see improvement, I'll improve. That's the way I've lived. And I don't really know where that came from. It just seems to me to be the logical thing to do. My life, as a young person, I guess I started playing the saxophone when I was in the 6th grade. And you improve. You practice and you get better and you learn more things. And so by the time you're a senior in high school, you're way better than you were when you were in the 6th grade. That's life. Martial art, I started in about the 10th grade or so, 14 years old, 15 years old or so. And you don't stay at that first level. You're constantly, consistently learning new things and improving yourself. And so maybe this is just the practice that I've had in life. And so I tried college a couple of times, while I was in the military for a few quarters and a little bit afterwards, but never stuck with it. But even in that time, I was always seeking to improve myself. I probably read The Art of War, Sun Tzu, probably 40 or 50 times. Studied the Tao Te Ching, The Importance of Living, Viktor Frankl, In Search of Meaning, or something to that effect. But I've always tried to improve myself, most of the time informally. After the military, but then when I turned 50 years old, as many of you know, I went back to school, went to college. Earned my associate degree, bachelor's degree, MBA. Why? A hunger for knowledge, but not just knowledge. What's the purpose of that? Because the knowledge you get that is new improves you. Okay? I saw that even in the religion as a minister, functioning as a minister for so many years, almost 30 years or so. That there was a hunger. There was a hunger for knowledge. Because knowledge is what improves us, okay? I go to the grocery store. I have to go to the magazine section and see what's in there for me. But whether it's the mindfulness or even healthy living and foods or martial art magazines, whatever, something to improve myself. This is the way I live. This is the way I am. And so this is what I share. Why I share these motivational programs, even on social media and on cable, local cable, for about the past 21 years or so, because I want to share with folks that may not be looking in the same places that I was looking, may not even be looking to improve, but when they see something I might have to say, the aha moment might manifest and take a hold of them for good change. But I know that it's very hard to convince an individual of something better who's acquiesced to, oh, well, this is just the way my life is supposed to be. I spent 17 years speaking to the youth at juvenile detention, and it was like, you're locked up, you're in jail, you're getting ready to face the judge, or you face the judge. It's not good. But still, you can't see that there's something wrong with your life. And no, for the most part, they couldn't. And on a less drastic scale, I believe that most human beings are like that. May not be locked up, may have health issues, may have weight issues, may have financial, relational, all kinds of issues. But have easily acquiesced into believing that this is just the way my life is and not attempting to change. And so I put stuff out there and attempt to shake people up, shake them up. You can be better, you can do better, but most folks don't see it. I see it often, and I'm reminded of, when I speak in a church or in a institution like a church, and I have maybe 200, 300, 400 people in the audience. And I think I'm making some real good points, and people are saying amen. But if you look across the crowd, the folks saying amen, those are the ones that already got it. They don't even need it because they're already living it. That's why they're saying amen. But the folks that need it, the folks whose lives would drastically improved if they just listen to what I'm saying and try to embrace it and imagine it. The issues that they've been facing, most of their lives would be gone. But like always, I've always thought, Tony Robbins, way back when, I was buying his CDs, because I've always been on this journey. Wayne Dyer, all the guys that you could consider that were Deepak Chopra, that were motivational speakers and all. I bought all their products simply throughout my life, not even sharing them, but simply trying to improve myself and gaining that improvement. And so what I'm insisting upon, or what I'm suggesting very strongly to you right now, is that is the number one mindset that you need to have going into the next year if you want your life to change. You have to be in a mindset of always improving. Never acquiescing to, this is just the way life is. And I have to say this, that there was a 10-year period in my life that I wasn't like this. There was a period where I was simply getting that buzz. I was drinking a lot of alcohol. I was going out every night. That was simply my everyday life. And so I wasn't trying to improve. I wasn't trying to get better. And so now, on the other end of this, I woke up when I was 28. I stopped doing all those destructive things. But I'm a proponent of no drugs. I don't think the gummy thing is a good idea. I don't think the weed is a good idea. All these things, man. I'm not saying it don't make you feel good. I'd be lying to say that. But I'm suggesting that when the smoke clears and the dust settles, I say you haven't gotten that buzz for 5 or 10 or 15 years. Has your life improved? Has your health improved? Have your finances improved? Have your relationships improved? I'm just suggesting. I'm thinking, even in that time that I was going to night school, when I had earned my associate, bachelor's, and the MBA, could I have done that if I was getting a buzz? No! I couldn't have. And so I'm just suggesting today that as we walk into this new year, we have to have an attitude of always improving and ridding ourselves of anything that would hold us back from improving. I believe that's drug use. I believe that's alcohol use. I believe that's us personally holding ourselves back. We just need this epiphany, this change of mind. There's a term, in biblical writings, this term called repent. And we attach this word to the religion. We believe it's a religious concept, but it's not. All repent means, even in biblical days, all repent meant was simply to change your mind. You got to repent. We got to change our minds if we want to be well. This year that we've just stepped into. Okay, so we're going to talk about a few things, but it's very, very important. I think number one is your health. How's your health? Because every success, everything that you put your hand to do, if you don't have good health, what's the point? Okay. And the thing is, what's really interesting is it's not difficult to have good health. We just need to repent. We just need to change our minds. We need to stop looking at food as entertainment and recognizing that food is sustenance. And with all the tools, and all the information tools that we have in our hand today, there is no reason in the world for us to be eating foods that are not healthy for us. We could just go to AI, go to Google, and just, it was what I did about 15 or more years ago. I just went to Google, and all the foods that are good for me. And I got like 3 or 4 printouts. Went to medical, whatever, the different sites they have on there for medical, for health and nutrition, all those sites, and I pulled out about 3 or 4 pages and I printed them of all the foods that were healthy for me. And once I had them printed, I went through that list and just marked out everything on that list that I didn't like. So I just left on my list all the things that I already liked, and that became my diet plan. And the key is that just wasn't my diet plan. Well, I need to be on a diet for like 50 days or 60 days until I do this or gain this or whatever. No, this is my new diet. This is how I eat. And that's the key. Going into 2026, don't put a time limit on staying healthy. This is my new way of life, what I eat. For real. That's the key. And as well, exercise. Exercise needs to be every day. That's what the doctors say. That's what the experts say for your heart, for your body, for burning calories, for all the stuff you need to do. Exercise needs to be every day. So eating right and exercise for this year, and we're right at the beginning, this has to be your new way of life. That's the key, man. Everything focuses on how you take care of yourself. Because I don't know about you, but I plan on being an old guy. I plan on growing. I was planning on being around a while. I told my kids, yeah, you're going to inherit some stuff from me when I'm past, but y'all better step up your game because I'm planning on being here a while. For real. Take care of yourself. Man, I've been working now with the federal government for about almost 32 years now with the U.S. Postal Service. And folks are saying, when are you going to retire? I'm like, I feel just as good as I did all along. Why would I cut off, the finances that I'm making? Why would I cut off the exercise that I'm getting? I mean, I do drive around now. I don't walk 20 miles a day like I once did. But still, it's still that exercise, that's cardio. Why would I give that up? That's part of my health routine. Think about it. You're going to have to change some habits, change some attitudes. You're going to need to repent, change your mind. But it's worth it. Besides that, your kids are watching. You might want to begin to be a better example before them, for real. Okay? Health, very important. Spirituality, very important as well. Now I want to make sure, when I say spirituality, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about recognizing your spirituality and as well recognizing science at the same time. Because that whole quantum physics thing of all these little things that are out there in the entire universe and all that's going on within the universe, well, guess what? You're just part of that, okay? And that's okay. So when you begin to understand the universe, when you begin, in my opinion, even understand quantum physics and that you are made up of the same materials that those folks are studying, and many of the attributes of the things that they're studying actually apply to our own lives as well. Don't be against science if you're spiritual, and don't be against spirituality if you're scientific. It's all pretty much, they complement each other. And will give you a better understanding of exactly what and who you are, okay? It's very important. And so there's that religious part that is the culprit. That is the thing that we created as human beings, simply trying to come up with a way to understand, okay? So in a sense, religions were just, archaic, scientific responses to what wasn't so easy to understand. Just recognize that. Now see, I'm not really taking a shot at religion if it's a positive thing. I don't believe it's a necessary thing, But I do believe it can be a positive thing, like wearing a brace, you know, if your leg is bad, helping you walk straight, helping you be okay. The relationships and the encouragements that you have in those relationships, very, very beneficial that you would find in religion. But what I see is the negative, the downfall of these religions as it relates to the individual and to the society at large, is this idea that this is the only religion and this is the only right religion. You know, when groups do that, that's when there's a problem. When groups have religions that have ostracized certain folks, that have demonized other folks, this is not good. Because you're talking about a religion that's not really necessary anyway, unless it's helping you stand strong and stay moral. So the moment they cross that line into immorality, there is nothing good about that religion. We've seen it with the Christian rights. We've seen it with Israel, how they treat other human beings. I mean, this is the red flag. So if you're part of an organization, a religious organization, that's fine as long as it's positive. But if it's not causing you to be loving and kind and good to other folks, that's a bad place to be. It's not good, and in my opinion, it's just not legitimate. Embrace your spirituality. And embracing your spirituality, you're going to recognize that you have a connection to every other human being on this planet. And not only the human beings, whatever the source of our creation, wherever we emanated from, is recognizing that we're all connected, okay? And I think that's very important as far as improving spirituality. Because there's this concept, I think, that you'll find in the religious books about sowing and reaping, about karma. Whatever culture, or whatever religion, whatever ethnicity, whatever language, whatever tongue, it seems that all throughout history and all across borders is this prevailing belief that we do reap what we sow. So, be good. And if your religion is moving you not to be good to all human beings we are obviously related, that's the wrong religious institution to have aligned yourself with, because that attitude, you're sabotaging your own success, you're sabotaging your own happiness, you're sabotaging your well-being, because we do in fact reap what we sow, and affixing ourselves to a terrible organization that is heck bent on persecuting and demonizing others. We're setting ourselves up. We're setting ourselves up to reap the whirlwind, and that's not good. This year, finances. We need to focus on our finances even stronger. It's not gonna just happen. And the problem with the finances in most of our lives is that when we're young, we really don't think about it so deeply. And by the time we begin thinking about our finances and our futures deeply, we're already past the line of which we could really have created significant revenues, significant income. So I'm just suggesting that we need to refocus. Focus on our finances. Focus on our health. Focus on our spirituality, and focus on our finances. They all work together. Because if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're a positive individual, that's your spirit. That's that spirituality we're talking about. And that spirituality should be guiding you to better health and to better finances. And just take care of what you need to take care of. Often we have friends, we have relationships, people that are just spending a lot of money like crazy, and we're out there too doing it. That is not a good end. Don't surround yourself with people who are just blowing money, and if you have that attitude, you need to find a way to curb or at least end that attitude. And surround yourself with healthy people. Surround yourself by folks that have a clear understanding of their spirituality. Surround yourself with people who are financially well, or at least have right-mindedness for being financially well. It's very important. Your relationships. This would be a good time to begin to focus on relationships. And a lot of times, the relational issues that we have, say with spouses, your husbands or wives, are all surrounding these things we're talking about. They're talking about the health, talking about the spirituality, talking about the finances. These are the causes for divorce, or at least unhappy marriages. So as we begin addressing those things that we need to be addressing, our relational status and place will begin to improve. And that's very, very important. And especially considering the number of marriages ending in divorce, and those people who don't divorce, how many of them are miserable. It's very important to get ourselves together. I think we spend so much time, looking at our spouse, wanting them to get themselves together. We don't realize that we are culprits as well. And if we would simply get our own selves together, that's all we have control over. They'll begin to get themselves together as well, or not. But there are always consequences to our actions. Very important. Let's talk about AI for a minute. AI for this coming year. Now, I've been utilizing AI intensely for over 2 years now. I consider myself an expert at my level of using AI. I have like 4 or 5 pages of prompts to get AI to respond to certain situations or certain problems or certain topics that I have stored within there. AI knows me. I don't have a problem with that. It's important. Now talking to my daughter, who's still a junior at the university. She takes issue with AI because of all the water AI consumes and environmental issues that AI is consuming and all. And so she kind of wants to reject AI. And what I'm suggesting is that that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea because AI is a very powerful tool. Okay? And everyone needs to be an expert at AI, yet most people will not be. I would say in the 90% range. So that gives you an edge if you're utilizing AI. Now, it's my belief that AI is going to be what solves the environmental issues that AI is causing. Okay, that's not too difficult to fathom. We can do figures and numbers, into outer space that would have taken us 20 years to figure out. AI will figure it out in a half a minute. We can, whatever kind of issue you have in your life, whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're trying to learn, AI can fix it. Give you the answer. And that's one of the things I find very beneficial for me about using AI is that, first of all, I take care of myself. So my health is good. I eat right and I exercise every day. So I have improved my life, and I've even extended my life to be here for quite some time longer than I would have been had I not been doing these things. But now you interject AI into my life. And now I have situations that I'm facing, things that I'm dealing with, things I'm trying to figure out. AI clears them up in like 9 to 10 seconds. Now say, for example, I'm having a computer problem. I don't know how to do this, or something's stuck, something's lost. I'm just trying to get this and it's not responding. I go to AI. This is the issue I have. How do I fix it? Put AI, just lay it right out. Now suppose I try that and it doesn't work. I said AI will just say, okay, well if that doesn't work, do this, and this will definitely work. And it works. This is in just about every aspect of life where there is some kind of confusion or some kind of a lack of knowledge, very important knowledge for the moment. AI has it. So what I've tried to do, if I could calculate a mathematical equation for it, is first of all, how many hours that I've added to my life, how many days, how many years have I added to my life because of my lifestyle. And then I would like to couple that with how much time have I saved by being able to. I don't have to spend 2 days, on a call with technical assistance and all this stuff. I just go to AI, whether it's computer related, anything related at all. AI will have the answer for it. And I won't have to spend as much time as I would have trying to figure it out. I remember working on computer situations and having to work the next day, finally out of frustration going to bed and then calling back the tech to still continue to try to fix my situation, and that might have taken 3 days or so. So not only have I extended my life, I've also extended or fed into the quality of my life. And the waste of time I've begun to eliminate because of my utilization of AI. AI is very important. And still there are those die-hard ones that take issue with AI because whatever they see AI might be destroying us in the future, or maybe AI is just like using up too many resources. I'm like, look, it's like peeing in the ocean. You can say, well, I'm not going to pee in the ocean because that's just wrong and it's polluting the ocean. But is it? As wide and vast as that ocean, and me peeing in that ocean is not going to make any kind of change at all, significant change to that body of water, because the body of water is so vast. And so what I'm suggesting here is that's what I'm seeing with AI. That first of all, you not utilizing it isn't going to do anything because there are too many people utilizing it, and they're not going to stop. So every type of scientist you can imagine are using it. People are using AI to like crazy, and nobody's going to stop. So you not using AI is not making any kind of effect at all. You might say, well, if everybody stops using it, well, everybody's not going to stop using it. Just you. And that's not going to make any effect at all, peeing in the ocean. I remember when Obama was running for president. And he had suggested that he was against nukes. And he wished that there was nobody that had nukes. And that was going to be his mission. Okay. And then when he became president, not long after, I think it was Fox News, Hannity, asked him, I said, I thought you said that you were going to get rid of nukes. Why do we still have nukes? And of course Obama gave him the logical and the right answer was, I don't believe in nukes. But if Russia isn't going to give up their nukes, we're not going to give up ours, right? So what I'm suggesting is if everybody is going to be using AI, and AI is a critical feature that allows you to, whether it's in your job, whether you're a professional, whatever you are about, AI will enhance your job exponentially, making you way better. Look, this is kind of a side, but I've been studying quantum physics for the past 20 years. And not really like through a school, although I was a student in MIT on YouTube. For real. They had cameras in the classroom, so I was just sitting there with all the rest of the students listening to the instructors, okay? And the thing about that then when I started and up until this AI came around for us, I mean, is that whenever I would be listening to a lecture or a book or a podcast or YouTube or something, or an Audible book. Richard Feynman was a set of lectures that I found on audible.com. I found myself just understanding maybe half of what I was hearing. That means half of what I was hearing I was not understanding. But half of what I was hearing I was understanding, and I enjoyed it so much that was enough for me over the years. But with AI now, and so I'm listening to a particular podcast or scientist or whatever speaking on YouTube, and all of a sudden on quantum physics, and a word comes up that I'm not familiar with, like they're talking about the beginning of the universe, they're talking about inflation, and I'm like, gosh, I don't know what inflation is. I don't know what financial inflation is, but what's inflation as it pertains to the universe? So I pause that YouTube broadcast, go right to ChatGPT, and say, in regards to quantum physics, what is inflation? And it'll tell me, and I'll read it, and then I'll know, and then I'll continue the broadcast. And so it's very important to recognize that no matter what it is that you're lacking, no matter what you don't know, whatever situation you're facing, AI has the answer. And as you are out in the workplace, functioning in the workplace or your own business or whatever it is you're doing, AI is that edge. And I don't recommend, as we do so often, waiting to the last minute, getting in on the last of something and not really profiting or capitalizing from it. This is the opportunity to begin to utilize, to begin to learn how to utilize AI, to have prompts like I do, 4 pages of Word prompts that I could just copy and paste in there to get whatever kind of data I'm looking for. That's going to be the difference. Because I'm telling you, folks are using AI and they're going to be using it. And if you're not and you're in competition with someone who is using it, you're going to lose, man. I remember coming up as a black man in America, and most black folks you ask will probably affirm this, but most of us were raised and taught by our parents to believe that if you wanted to compete for the same job as a white guy, you're going to have to be 10 times better than him. And if you're 10 times better than him, you're probably going to get the job, okay? And so that's who we had to be. So now I'm kind of evolving that if you want to compete with someone who is using AI for their information, for learning and utilization, if you want to compete with that guy, you better know it too. Otherwise, he's 10 times better than you, okay? It's very important. And I don't know if companies so much now are not hiring people because they're black. I think they are, because companies simply want to succeed, and they don't want, a minimalistic they don't want to be judging folks in a negative way and dismissing them who would be creating significant revenue for their companies. So just AI is the edge. Just use AI, utilize AI. And everything's going to be all right. What's this? Okay, your work attitude. This is a big one. Again, I've had a lot of jobs. I left home when I graduated high school in 1976, and I joined the military. 17 years old. Let's see, after the military, I went to work for the B&O Railroad. After the railroad, I went to work for NCR Corporation. 13 years, took a small buyout. 5 months later, I was a mailman. I've been there going on 32 years now, making good money, in pretty good health, working. I have a good attitude. Man, I notice at work, and you probably notice the same thing, people are just mad all the time. Well, that might be you, okay? They're just mad. They don't have a good attitude. See, the key is to work, and to work a long time. And look at that financial thing. You're going to do better as you're adding on to your stack of money rather than simply just retiring and taking away from that stack of money. But oftentimes because of health or whatever issues, we have to retire, which is why we're trying to take care of ourselves and stay in good condition. But the thing is, it is very beneficial for us to have a positive attitude when it comes to our jobs, when it comes to work. Because now I believe that there's this thing called you're reaping what you're sowing, or karma, or what going around comes around, or chickens coming home to roost, however you want to say it. You reap what you sow. And so if you're negative, to me, and this is what I've seen in the workplace for 50 years now, if you're negative, you're going to be living in that negativity, right? Why? Because you're reaping what you're sowing. Be positive. Man, I'm the guy that the glass is half full. I'm that guy. So if I go to work, say, and they want me to work extra because they're short, I get to make more money that day. If I get there and they have all they need and they want me to go home, I get to go home. So no matter what we're faced with or what I'm faced with on the workroom floor, I'm good. As well, now this is my little trick, and it's served me well. I really don't look like I work for my boss, okay? Why? Because I do everything that I'm supposed to do, okay? So they don't have to come at me with questions and discipline and all that. No, I do everything that I'm supposed to do, and I even do a little better sometimes, okay? So I'm not under their scrutiny, okay? I'm not really reporting to them. I know the job, I do it, so my interactions with management and upper management is minimized, okay? I don't work for them, and that's the way I look at it. And as well, find a reason where you want to come to work. Find the good things. I looked at it like I was a mailman. I had to walk 20 miles a day, so I turned my walk into my exercise route. And I would double time that route with that bag on my back. Plus, I would eat healthy every day, every work day, from the time I got up to the time I got off. Now I eat healthy every day. But for many years, it was just, since I had to work out, while I'm at work, I'm going to eat healthy. And that's what I did. And I would come to points sometimes where I'd be on vacation. And like 2 days before the vacation was up, I couldn't wait to get back to work because I needed to work out. I needed to exercise. Find reasons to be positive about your job. Okay? Then when you get to be my age, 67 years old and going on 32 years on the job, you're not just waiting to retire because you're good. You've been having a good relationship with your job all this time. You haven't been mad. You haven't been angry. You'd be surprised how many people I've run into that are trying to talk me into retiring. I ain't unhappy, you know. And I was talking to my brother. He's retired and real smart. And he was saying, well, you know, if you just like your job so much. I didn't say I liked my job. I just found a way to make me not hate my job. And it's a matter of coping. It's a matter of adapting and recognizing if this is where I'm going to be. I can't function every day of my life, every day, every week, every month, every year, being negative. No wonder those guys can't wait to retire because they've been mad for years, not me. Keep the right attitude. And it translates on actually your health as well. Because if you're mad all the time, that's not doing good on your body. That's not good for your health. Man, just be positive. You reap what you sow. So you might as well sow good and reap good. And be content. Man, I'm working. I think I've already, I don't know what I'll do to stop working. And I don't hate it. So I'm going to work. I get to interact. And then I go out and I get to be alone. I'm making top dollar. I'll be 68 years old this year, man. I can start pulling my Social Security now while I'm working if I want to, but I'm going to wait till I'm 70 and possibly keep continuing working, then pulling that Social Security with no penalty, and it's top dollar. Come on, man. I figured it out the other day. If I started taking my Social Security now at 67, versus if I waited until I was 70 and started pulling my Social Security, that's $800 difference just between age 67 and age 70. Now I'm pretty healthy. Here we go. The reason to be healthy. I don't need to pull that money now because I plan on living a long time. My mama lived to 97 and I think I'm healthier than she was. And I'm just saying, $800 more than I would have been getting after I finally retire for the next 30 years. Come on, man. And that $800 is how much more I'd be getting. That's not how much I'll be getting. That's how much more I'll be getting just from Social Security. Plus postal retirement. Right now I'm at 32 years. Shoot. I was thinking maybe working until I was 76. My wife looked at me like I was crazy. But if I feel good, I can't guarantee I'll be feeling like this. But I feel pretty good. If I am, I might just hang in there with it. You know, I have this exercise program. This is the side. I think, and I want you to get maybe you can get something out of this. I have this what they call a power kata, which is my 40-minute cardio, which is like 1,000 punches and 900 kicks. So I start the day. I start the morning. I do 50 push-ups. Then I go right into my 40-minute cardio. Then I do like 50 of these little ab exercises and some hand things, okay? And what I have is a video that I work with, that power kata. And it's these guys, it's not like Billy Blanks, come on everybody, you know, it's nothing like that. But it's like actually being in a karate class, in a karate club, which I spent many, many years in. And I knew all the punches, I knew all the kicks, and this is what I do. But now this is the funny part, but it's true, I think. Psychologically, most of what we are governed by, positive and negative, is psychological. So when you realize that, you can be fixing your situation, recognizing you're going to be responding to it psychologically. So I've been working out with these guys like Dan and Rachel and Christy and Naima. These are the people that I've been doing my martial art thing with. 1,000 punches, 900 kicks, you know, every day for about the past 13, 15 years or so. And so of course, whatever age they were when I bought this, they were like in their 30s, you know. I was in my 50s, but they were in their 30s. And so I went ahead, you know, I bought them and they were on DVD drives, okay? But I knew then that I wanted to do this long term and I figured the DVDs would wear out. So I copied them to flash drives, okay? And I just have one and it's that 40-minute workout. And so I have it in my TV, so I just do that every day. And I was thinking, since they were in their 30s, so every day, so then I was in my 50s and 55 and 60 and 65, now 67. I'm still working out with these guys every day, but they still look like they did when I started in their 30s. Now, I'm in my 60s. Now, they're probably a lot older looking now. They don't look like they did, but they look the same as they did when I started, as they did yesterday when I worked out. So psychologically, I'm not working out with these old people. I'm working out with the same people I've been working out with, and I have to believe that has some kind of subconscious effect in keeping me more viral, more stronger and more young-ish. Yeah, simply because the people I'm working out with, they simply look the same as they've always looked. That's my theory. Anyway, it seems to be working. So very important then to appreciate your work, because after the workout, after my food has been prepared, which I do the night before, then I go to work. And something about working out gets those endorphins kicking. You're all happy in a good mood. I walk into work all happy, and I'm looking around these people, and some of them are frowning. Man, but I share these on Facebook. They know what I'm doing. But those endorphins are something else, man. They will kick in, and you'll just be happy. So that might be one of the reasons why when I go to work, I'm the half full guy, because my endorphins are just kicking, right? Anyway, that's very important, your work. Be positive with your work. Work as long as you can. In order to work as long as you can, be as healthy as you can. Be as healthy as you can, you have to eat right, and you have to exercise every day. How's that? Okay. What do you got? Plugging up the holes. What does that mean? Fine-tuning. In every aspect of life. And that's kind of, we've talked about the major concerns, but in every in every aspect of your life, just fine tune, So simple things will keep you well. Like my hair, I cut my hair like once a week. I don't go to the barber, because it's too expensive. I haven't gone to the barber probably in 12 years, a lot of years. I cut my own hair once a week and shave. Try to keep myself sharp. I haven't shaved in about 2 days since the 1st of January. Today's the 3rd. No, today's the 2nd of January. But keep yourself sharp. The clothes you wear, keep yourself looking nice. Don't just acquiesce to, nothing, it doesn't matter. No, always be sharp, always be together. You're buying into that. I'm healthy, I'm good, I got it going on like that. This isn't a conscious effort where we can lie to ourselves. This is the reality of what you've creating, what you're looking at in this mirror. I am good. When you see yourself, take that double look and say, "Dad, really?" Then what do you say? Doesn't just happen. Because it doesn't. Take care of yourself. Create the image that you're going to be looking at, that you're going to be influenced by. Determine what you're going to be looking at and what you're going to be influenced by. Take care of yourself. Get it together, man. Shave, cut your hair, wear nice clothes, wear cologne, just anything. Keep yourself right, right? Okay. Very, very important. Fine-tuning. What I find very beneficial is meditation. Meditation is very important. I've been doing this since I was a kid in the martial art, in various forms, various ways. But what I've settled upon now is a way that I really never did meditate back in the day. Okay, and it seems to be working well. So since I've been doing my workout in the mornings. What I had to do was I had to begin preparing my healthy meals at night, so I would have more time to do what I needed to do in the morning, and I wouldn't be rushed to get to work. So what I found after preparing my meals at night, in the morning when I got up, I'd have extra time. So what I'd get back, get a couple of cups, make some coffee, grind the beans, and make the coffee. That's part of my process every day. I think that's part of my meditative process as well. And then I just sit down in a semi-dark room with my coffee and just chill. Without the lights on, without even the TV on, without even the TV, that screen on, even if I'm not watching, no nothing, just no light. just a little bit of light from the ceiling. I just chill. It's like meditation for like 20 minutes. And I believe that's very healthy. I believe it's healthy because I think the one thing that we neglect is the wellness of our minds. We just automatically think that's okay. You know, even as the mailman, I really haven't had too many sicknesses, but I've had a lot of injuries just by doing the job. I've always tried to cure myself, and I found a lot of times the injuries, they actually cure themselves. You can enhance it, or you can exacerbate the wound or the injury. But your body is an amazing thing, and it has a way of healing itself. You know, when you cut your hand, if you just let it, it's going to hurt. It's gonna seal itself, and it might grow a little scab or something, but it's going to heal itself in time. And what I'm suggesting is this is how our minds work as well. See, we have a lot of wounds, mental scars, things that have happened to us all throughout our lives coming up that have never really been dealt with. But in this meditative time, when you're just not actively trying to think about stuff, you're just chilling and sitting there, certain things are going to come up. Certain things are going to come to your mind. I remember when I first started meditating, you know, the whole thing was, you know, keep your mind clear and stay focused on nothing and don't let anything. That's totally wrong, but I used to do that. But what I've learned is, no, let whatever come up that needs to come up. That's your mind. Without you consciously moving it to, it's attempting to heal itself by bringing up old things, bringing up things that you may have buried a long time ago, just so you can deal with them now. For instance, say you had some issue. A lot of us today, a lot of adults are dealing with childhood issues, traumas, things that happened to us as kids that really weren't fair, that really weren't right, that really kind of messed us up a little bit. And so since we were at the survival of that child is if I'm going to continue on with my regular life and going to school and interacting and doing all the things I need to do, now this is subconscious and all, I'm going to compartmentalize this hurt, this pain, this heinous thing that may have been done to me. I'm just going to compartmentalize it just so I can continue in life. Now my continuing life might be a little jaded because of this thing that I've compartmentalized, but at least I can continue in life and grow up. But what I'm suggesting is some of these things that we've carried with us from childhood, some of the wrongs that were done to us, if we just couldn't deal with them as a child. But if some of those wrongs had been done to us when we were 15 years old, or 20 years old, or 30 or 40 years old, we could have just brushed it right off. It wasn't that big a deal. Really, that was an issue of this individual, not me. But the child didn't have that maturity to be able to deal with it, so it just got compartmentalized. So throughout our lives, we're walking around being slightly off course, being slightly imbalanced because of this thing that we compartmentalized when we were 6 or 7 years old. What I'm suggesting is these are the type things that come to our minds when we're in meditative, when we're in quiet time. Because we're not occupied with, what am I going to do today? All the things that we've occupied ourselves with, we're just in a quiet place sipping on a cup of coffee. And all of a sudden these things, these thoughts begin coming up. And what I'm suggesting now, say you did have some kind of childhood trauma when you were 6 or 7 years old. Many of us did. Most of us did. Okay, didn't know how to deal with it. But if you allow this thing to come up, you say, oh yeah, and this bubble is burst here, and you're looking at that trauma, you're like, that was not that big a deal. Yeah, that person was rotten and they really hurt my feelings, but as a 40-year-old looking at this thing that the 6-year-old was not able to deal with, you can deal with it. Once you've dealt with it, brushed it aside, it's no longer an issue floating around with you for the rest of your life. This will happen, all kinds of stuff will be coming up. This is your mind healing itself by allowing all these issues to pop up that you couldn't deal with when you were this age, but now looking at it as an adult, it's easy to deal with, and you can just move on and you can be cured from that issue. And it's sort of like that analogy with the hand. When we have our hand that's cut, it's going to heal itself, but if we keep messing with it, if we keep working and doing other things with that hand, it's going to take an awful long time. It may never heal correctly. It's the same with our minds. Sometimes we just have to stop messing with it. Messing with it means that meditative time where we just have that peaceful atmosphere where we're not constantly thinking about things that we have to be thinking about. We just let ourselves go and we begin considering eventually the things our mind, our subconscious keeps bringing up. those things that we need to deal with. And we're going to find out, well, is that if we do this every day, man, just think about doing that every day for a year, what kind of person you'll be mentally, being able to deal with whatever issues you've been carrying around with you all of your life. You're going to be so improved before that next year pops up, for real. Okay. Now, this is kind of along the same lines, but not exactly, is adjusting your environment. But this is like, what we talked about with the mind just then was sort of like an internal issue. Of course, it was the mind. But what I'm suggesting to you is that your mind, you, who you are, is a response to the environment that you've come up with and the environment that you're living in today. Okay? And too often, many of our issues are that we have defined ourselves to be a particular individual, and that particular individual we have defined ourselves at continues to fail, or continues to run against walls, brick walls, or continues picking the wrong people for a relationship, continues just going down the wrong path, wondering why it keeps repeating itself, keep repeating itself. And I'm going to suggest that's because of the environment. Of course, the environment you came up with helped define you, but that meditation will fix that. But what you also have going on is the environment that you've created for yourself. What are you waking up and what are you looking at every day? What kind of things in your apartment or in your room or in your life are reminding you of this is the person that you are? It's very important. Let me give you an example. So I was living quite a destructive life from the time I went in the military at 17 till I was 28 years old. And then one night, or early one morning, I had this epiphany, January, cold morning, that the person that I wasn't the person that I wanted to be. and that was it. I knew I was no longer that person that I felt that I was. And I wasn't searching for anything either. But I just knew, without a doubt in my heart, that person that I had been all that time was not the person that I truly was, and not the person that I wanted to be. So I got up in the morning, and I really didn't do this with intention, but this is what I did, and I want you to grasp this. I went through my apartment, and I picked out everything in my apartment that I loved. I had trophies, baseball, bowling, and karate trophies. I had artifacts that I had picked up in the Far East, in Japan, and in Korea. I had a jazz album collection, switchblade collection. I had all kinds of plants. I was growing my own. I had all these things in my apartment that I identified with. That really reflected who I was. But I didn't want to be that person anymore. So I went to my apartment and picked all that stuff up the next day, and I took it all out to the dumpster and threw everything away. My apartment was empty. My apartment had an echo in it, man. But all those things that I had thought I identified with, those things that had defined me, they were no longer there. So when I got up in the morning, I wasn't constantly faced with these things that affirmed who I used to be. And then slowly, in time, I began to fill my apartment with all these things that reflected the individual who I was now, who I wanted to be, who I determined that I was. So the key is then to change your environment, because it's your environment that's reminding you, that's affirming you that this is the person you are. You think this is who you are, this is who you are. You are a blank slate. You were influenced by your environment, and then the environment that influenced you, you began affirming by accumulating things that you thought you liked, but they simply affirmed this person who you were by no choice. And now I'm just saying this as a caveat, tattoos. Now, my son has some tattoos, so what I'm giving you is not anti-tattoo. This is just to be aware if you have tattoos so you don't fall into this. It's because, say, I'm 19 or 20 years old in college or something, and I get some tattoos like, what's popular today. Okay, fine. Say I'm 19 years old. So then, and the whole time I'm 19 years old, every morning when I'm getting ready to go to school, I'm seeing my tattoos. I'm saying, man, those tattoos look good, And then 21 years old, 22-year-old, 23-year-old, every time I get up, I'm looking in the mirror thinking, man, I look good. Those tattoos look good. But the reality is, what these tattoos are doing is they're maintaining the same, giving you the same image of yourself that you had when you were 19. You are not evolving like you would be had you not been affirming every day you look at your tattoos, this is who I am. Okay? And see, that's why you could be 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, and still be kind of stuck in a particular groove here that you can't seem to get out of, because every day when as you could change everything in your apartment, as you could remove what's in your apartment that doesn't identify with who you are, and begin to fill your apartment with positive things that are conducive to the person who you now see you are, you can't do that with your tattoos. So every day when you see yourself, you're going to be affirming that this is who I am. And then you're going to come to a point where I can't even change because those things don't make me feel good. I don't like doing those things. Well, the reason you don't like doing those things is because you've bought into this image that you have created. You have determined every day that this is who I am, who you've been since you were 19. So now that you're 40, you think these are the things that make you happy. No, these are the things that make happy the individual that you affirm that you were. That is not you. So you're kind of stuck. So if you want your life to change, you have to change your opinion about yourself, recognizing this person who I believe I am, these things that I believe are fun, are simply attached to this individual that I have created, that I've allowed my environment to convince me that I am. And so it's going to be very hard to change. Now, I believe that knowledge is power. And once you grasp a hold of what I'm saying, you can consciously determine that is who I was. I'm glad I got that stuff that reflects who I was, but that stuff isn't me now. I got my ear pierced when I was in the military. I think I was about 19 years old or so, overseas. And it's no big deal, but I haven't worn that earring probably in 30 years. Now, I've made sure the hole is still there. I think I've worn it on occasion. But the reality is that even the earring was a person who I was then, but isn't the person I am now. So I don't intentionally not put an earring in. I just have no desire or no thought to wear it, okay? Change your environment, or you're always going to be struggling trying to curb the enthusiasm of the destructive things because you think that's who you are, when in fact that's simply what the environment around you has convinced you to believe that you are, but you're not. That was a mouthful, wasn't it? See, what we're really talking about, it seems, are the influences that have caused us to believe we are something other than what would be our best, okay? And education, a lack of education is one of those things. What I found when I decided to go to school, I was 50 years old, decided to go to the local community college, Sinclair College in Dayton, Ohio, just to get my associate degree. That's all I needed. That's all I wanted. And it's funny, the counselor, she really tried to convince me to take a parallel course. And what that meant was that if I just take this associate degree program and graduate, and then I decide I want to get a further education at one of the universities, one of the local universities, that they're not going to accept all of the credits that I received from the courses I took that created this associate degree that I would earn. But if I took the set of courses that, say, Wright State offered or that UD would suggest for my associate degree, if I took all of the courses that they said to take for my associate degree, if I wanted to go further my education to a bachelor's degree, they would accept all of the courses, all of the credits that I got from the courses that I took because they were the ones that they had suggested. And this lady tried her best, but I was like, no, I don't want to do that. All I wanted is an associate degree. Finally, she was begging me so hard, I just gave in so she'd be okay. And you know what? That was the smartest moves, luckiest moves that I've made all my life, because guess what? Once I earned that associate degree, guess what? I wanted to get a further education. I went on to get my bachelor's degree. After my bachelor's degree, guess what? I wanted to get a further education. I went on to get my MBA. All that was interesting. And what I want to share with you, what happened. So before I went to school for the associate degree, I had my high school mindset. And I had my military mindset, I had my NCR mindset, I had all these mindsets, but it wasn't really a formally educated mindset. High school was my last formal graduation. But as I was earning my associate degree, taking the courses, the history courses, the speech courses, the English courses, the philosophy courses, all the things that I was taking, my worldview was expanding. Without even realizing it, I was changing. I was changing my environment. The same as we talked about changing the environment of the room that I lived in, changing the environment of the issues I might have been carrying around with me. I also began to change the environment of my understanding of the world. And that's called an expanded worldview. And I began to change. So although I entered class starting that associate degree knowing I was going to be done in a couple of years, by the time I got through, my worldview had expanded, I had changed, the environment of my worldview had changed, and I was no longer that person, and I wanted more. And I thought that was it, just a bachelor's degree and I'm going to be done. By the time I got done with my bachelor's degree, I'd even expanded even more, and I wanted more, and there was that MBA. And then after the MBA, I was done. Come on, I'm dad, I'm husband, all these things, a job full time. That was enough for me. But even then, I'm still studying, like this whole quantum physics thing. I've been studying. I studied that as much as I studied my schoolwork, just with YouTube videos and podcasts and audio books and all that stuff, man. And now with AI to explain the stuff that I didn't understand before, man. Always be evolving, always be learning. Your worldview expands, you expand, your environment, your mental environment, your self-perceptive environment based on your education adjusts as well. I'm not the same man. I've written like 27 books. When I first got my degree, I got a call from like the district level who had found out, and they called me on my route and asked me if I wanted to go into management. Man, I was a mailman. It was 100 degrees outside. Sure, start Monday. It was on a Friday. But you know what? A couple things. Before they called me, they checked my record. I had no sick call-ins. I had no discipline levied against me. Why? Because I was a positive person. Why? Because I was exercising and eating healthy. My endorphins were cooking. I was always in a good mood. I couldn't wait to get back to work, even when I was on vacation. So when they checked me out, all they got was a good report. Not because I was trying to be a good employee, but simply because I was doing the right things for myself, my health, my meditation, my eating, my exercise. I was doing the right, and my education. I was the prime candidate to go into management. And so I did that for like 3.5 to 4 years. COVID hit. I didn't like management. I took about 3 months off COVID leave, went back in, as a craft employee. But it's very interesting that none of that would have happened, had I not been healthy, been happy, been education minded, gone to school. And funny thing is, when I left postal management, again, I've written like 27 or so books, a bunch of self-help books, and I have all kinds of stuff out there. But the first book I wrote is called Postal Revenue Failure: How to Keep Your Small Business from Failing. It's on Amazon right now, but it's just funny. I don't think I've gotten any sales on it. My most recent book, as a matter of fact, was published on the 1st of January, 2026, yesterday. And that's called like Growing Old Without Getting Old, okay? And that's on Amazon. And so you could find that, Another Perspective, martinjarvis.com. And once you get to my webpage, go to feature, and that book will be there. And you can look at, it'll take you, once you click on it, it will take you to Amazon.com, which allows you to read the first 2 chapters free. And if nothing else, I think you'll get a kick out of those free chapters. Check it out. It's pretty cool. But anyway, I think I've bent your ear long enough and for this time. And I do want to thank you once again for joining me for another perspective. And I want to invite you to join me again. You take care. Bye.